Hey crackers, what up? It's NEACE. I'm back. This is the return of one of the classics because like I said, YouTube content needs to improve. This is a classic revamp of ELOs Explained, except with a little twist. We're going to be focusing on top lane for this ELOs Explained video. We're going to cover everything you need to know about top lane and how to escape the ELOs that you might be in as a top lane main. Very exciting. We're going to cover concepts you need to know, champions that you could probably pick, general strategies and tips designed to help you improve from someone that's made high elo challenger multiple seasons. So it's awesome. If you enjoy this concept, like, comment, share, subscribe, and also let me know in the comments what role would you like me to make a presentation for next time. I'll be paying very close attention, so interact with the video. All right, so I need to do a quick overview of top lane to make some things clear between the viewer and myself, all right? In the high elo community, top lane is complained about a lot. There's obviously streamers that complain about it, but there's also the perception that the lane is useless. While that is true, generally in like Diamond Plus, you start feeling like, well, if I don't have a massive edge over my lane opponent, I lose a lot of agency on the match. Top lane is probably, for 90% of you guys watching, if you're not Diamond or above, top lane is probably one of the best roles in the game to carry. All right, you're gonna be facing weak opponents often. You're gonna be in a mostly 1v1 scenario, and you've got a ton of map and objective pressure if you're ahead. All right, so if top lane interests you and you want to get into top lane, or if you're thinking about the role, only really look at top lane if you prefer dueling to team fighting, if you're comfortable of taking big risks, because a lot of the decisions you make can have massive impacts, especially when you have the opportunity to beat your opponent and to basically shut somebody out of the game completely in a side lane, isolated side lane. Also, if wave management or the concept of that interests you, because top lane requires a ton of wave management to get a real big edge over anybody. And you probably should not play top lane if you struggle with patience, because a lot of playing top lane is picking your spots and playing patiently at some points and then playing very, very aggressively in others. So it can be very tough to make those decisions, and a lot of it, for many top laners, the ones that struggle with patience tend to not be very good at the role, not knowing how to back off and to slow down at certain times. The next thing, if you struggle with trading, top lane is a lot of minor trades that add up over time. So if trading scares you, or the concept of like getting into too many trades too often, like full on like bruiser versus bruiser trades or big extended all-ins, like long lane all-ins, if that scares you, don't do it. And avoid top if you think the jungler is going to help you, because reality is the jungler really won't help you very often because the dragon being on the bot side of the map. All right, so yeah, if you think the jungler is going to be your friend in this role, think again. Got it? Cool. All right, so before we go into the individual ELOs, I wanted to go over some quick concepts from the stuff that's really important, and you build upon these concepts and you get to the more advanced stuff, and then eventually you're getting into the high ELO things that I think are very important to really master. All right, so if you're a newer player in top lane, melee versus melee trading, these are your standard like bruiser versus bruiser fights. These trades are very important, not trading in minions. Every time someone goes to fight you, you hit them, you auto attack them basically. And then the next thing is melee versus range damage mitigation. A lot of the times in top lane, you're going to have to learn how to itemize properly and kind of take abuse from stuff like Teemo, Kennen, Jace, whatever. It's a very important concept to get a handle on, and it's something that you need to understand before you can get out of those lower ELOs. Wave management, mainly back timing. You don't need to learn so much about freezing or any of that, and that's why I've compartmentalized them the way that I think, I think their level of importance are based on your ELO. And then the last thing for the lower ELO guys is split pushing, the float, the fight, the flank stuff that I've talked about in previous videos. Basically, the amount of pressure you apply in the side lane after hopefully you've won your lane. These are the main things for lower ELO guys to start learning and start experimenting with. And then as you're growing in those, then you start taking on some harder concepts, TP flanks, proxying, sometimes understanding proxying. Whether or not you do it or not is very important. Dirty farming, taking camps from the enemy jungle or your own jungle as you start to accumulate a lead. rotations based on objectives. So essentially what that means is if you are on the same side as a dragon that's spawning, but you have split push pressure, ideally that means you've made a mistake, because ideally you want to be the opposite side of the most important objective a lot of the time as a top laner. If you have TP, that's one reason, or the other reason, if you generally just have split push pressure, you really want to be drawing pressure to your side lane to what you're doing in solo queue. And by the way, this video is all about solo queue, okay? This isn't competitive play. This is focused mainly on solo queue for the more nuanced stuff. And lastly, for the high elo concepts, freezing or breaking a freeze. People talk about freezing in a lot of videos. I don't really see people executing freezes very often or very well until high elo. Topside dive defense in high elo is very important. Being able to understand that you're going to get dove and to back off an objective before it happens, that becomes something that you really need to understand and have a good handle on in order to beat high elo. And then lastly, late game big decisions. Do I back? Do I push? Do I go for a big dive or dive for an inhib? These decisions, they start becoming way more impactful in high elo, especially when you get leads. It becomes about whether or not you make the perfect macro decision. All right, cool. All right, so it's time to get into the individual ELOs and how to escape them, starting with Iron. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea how you're Iron. I have done some research upon making this video and tried to understand the different ELOs. I really don't know how anybody is in Iron. I'd like to think that the people that are in Iron, there's something big happening. Their settings may be jacked up. They may be playing on like 10 frames. Maybe they have like 400 ping. I don't know how you are here. And if you are actually here, do you know how the rules of the game work? And these aren't flame questions. These are just legitimate concerns that I have. I don't understand. Ever since Riot added this new division, not many people are actually in Iron. I would strongly recommend that if you're in Iron, check your system, check your internet connectivity, and just go over the basic rules, man. Play the tutorial, play bot games. And one bit of advice that I have for people, legitimate advice, if MOBAs are new to you and you just jumped into these completely fresh without any sort of prior video game experience, play a real-time strategy game first. And I mean this. This is real advice that I really think helps people. StarCraft 2 I know is free to play. If you can play a real-time strategy game, then MOBAs actually become real easy for you. You won't be stuck on locked camera. You'll be more able to micromanage things a little bit more efficiently. And yeah, and lastly, just play to win, man. Losing sucks. Try to figure out what's going on and how you could possibly be an Iron. I don't understand it. All right, Bronze. Bronze, this is how you escape if you're Bronze. Same thing that I told the last group. Bronze is a little bit more heavily represented in the general population though. But yes, I would still tell you, check your settings. Seriously, move all your settings to low. Keep your FPS high. Check your hardware. Check latency issues. Are you playing through like a wireless connection that's causing you to have a bunch of packet loss? These are legitimate concerns. People that are laughing at our Bronze players are, a lot of the time, the lower elo players are just people that haven't played many games very often and are learning gaming through League of Legends, which is that's hard, dude. That's yikes. And then obviously, are you playing enough ranked? Are you playing to win? Do you have like ranked anxiety? If you do, dude, you're in Bronze. There's nowhere else to go but up. Spam games, but focus on the concepts that we talk about in this video. It'll really help. Now, I've got a champion pool for the players that are in lower elo. I recommend these champions for lower elo. Yorick, Nasus, Garen, Jax, Alawi for top lane. This is top lane exclusive video, obviously. These are champions that will do the things that I talked about before. They'll split push well. They're pretty ABC, and they're different variations of pressure in lane and passivity in lane. Really good champions when you get a lead with, you can be a brick in the side lane and you can learn about pressure without being bogged down by too much advanced concepts or mechanical micro moves or whatever. Remember, you need about 100, 200 games of rank to actually gauge skill level. A lot of people send me replays of them playing like 20 games a season. It's not going to work. You need to put in the time. Otherwise, you're not going to really know where the hell you're at. And you're not even really going to have any muscle memory or a lot of macro memory on things. Things you need to improve on really badly. Last hitting towers, like once people leave lane, don't chase them around, just push the lane, hit the towers, learn the hotkeys, game rules, what champions do, and obviously you just need to emulate. Find someone who's better than you and try to be honest with yourself. Look at how they play and look how you play. Don't tell yourself that they're better than you, and I mean that. Instead, view it as like, okay, this guy does this, I'm gonna do this. It may not be as pretty as when he does it, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go for plays that he goes for. I'm gonna look for the types of moves that he makes. I'm gonna play the game the way that he plays. I'm gonna click as often as he clicks. Seriously, do not psych yourself out by assuming that people are better than you. Instead, just practice the concepts that they're clearly implementing, all right? Next. All right, so hopefully you figured out by now that each concept that we're going over is a build. So as you're getting to like silver, right, our systems, our hardware, and all that stuff should start cleaning up. We shouldn't see those mistakes as often. People just having really jacked up hardware, jacked up internet connectivity holding them back. And now we're focusing on more things that are holding us from climbing even higher. All right, so now we're in silver. The major errors that I see in silver, taking trades while a wave is pulling. So say that an enemy is sending like 10 or 15 minions at you. A lot of times in low elo, people still randomly do that a lot. They'll just take a big trade, even though the wave is big and is pulling and is pushing to them, right, or pulling. General damage mitigation is still an issue. For example, if someone goes to auto attack, I'll see silver players that they won't auto attack in response in top lane, or they'll face ranged champions and they'll just get obliterated so quickly. They don't understand how to give up CS. They don't understand how to itemize and to bring sustain into a lane and to play more defensive in those types of matchups. They really struggle with those concepts. And lastly, cannot lose with grace. I mean, they're going to die once, and they're going to die under their tower, and they're going to try to defend a tower. It just gets out of control very quickly for a silver player when they start losing. I added, I think, just Tryndamere into this champion pool. I'm keeping my champion pool recommendations focused on things, again, split pushing, the ability to pressure a side lane with the lead, how ABC a champion's playstyle is, and how effective it's going to be. Tryndamere, I leak into the silver elo. He's a very good champion. He's always been an amazing solo queue champion. You're going to see good results when you pick him. Things to improve. Now, as you're learning how to CS more, as you're learning how to hit towers more, you need to start playing defensive while missing major cooldowns. If you don't have your ult, don't run into lane after, killing somebody or you've already killed somebody. Don't stay in lane missing big cooldowns and try to fight them again. That's Riot's design to get you to throw. A lot of League of Legends is just kind of knowing what you shouldn't be doing and not doing those things anyways because you just like the pretty colors and just interacting with other champions. So play around those big cooldowns. Trade with your level advantages and wave advantages. Use your ward level 1 through 4 and avoid jungler cheeses. All right, now we're starting to think more about our vision as we climb, and as we get into silver, we're starting to think about what vision information that we can have. A lot of the mistake that I see top laners make is they die to just standard cheeses, like Lee Sin paths from the bottom side of the jungle to the top side, goes top, kills the top laner right away. This should never happen, at least not for free. At least try to get the 2v2 going or a 2v1 that you like going first because you have that information, that vision down. And then lastly, learn how to give up CS while keeping up XP. There's a CS, there's obviously going for CS in the gold, and there's a big CS range, like there's an XP range where you can just give up the farm, but you're still getting the XP. Learn the difference between the two. Seriously, learn those differences. Here are the ELOs, the iron to silver. These are the ELOs where people are still struggling with these concepts, and I see them just leaking when they should be losing gold, but not the XP as well. All right, so gold elo. That's how you escape the gold elo. Here's the mistakes gold elo players are making. You're starting to get a little bit better, but there's still some top lane errors, right? Some major errors. Back timing's still looking bad. Basically, don't quite understand yet. In order to back, you need to push a big wave under, and you need to start recognizing those differences between like pushing a wave under and hitting the tower, which is almost kind of greedy, or just pushing the wave under and backing right away because you know what? I'd rather be in lane with a good back timing than overextend for a couple whacks on an objective and lose my lane control. Taking teleport, wasting teleport. Up until this point, you've probably been just teleporting wherever the wind blows. Believe me, I know it. I've seen it in countless coachings at Gold Elo. Yeah, just really screwing up your teleports. Mid-game group-itis. This is still an issue. plaguing the gold players. Notice how these issues, they exist in the previous ELOs, but these are things that you need to start cleaning up ASAP as you've gotten into gold, and you need to start figuring out what the hell the purpose of top lane is. And remember, in my opinion, in solo queue, the purpose of top lane is very rarely leaving it unless you're doing a very succinct flank and then you get your ass back to a side lane and keep pressuring side lanes. All right, champion pool. We've added a couple in there. We've got Kled and Renekton in there now. 2 great champions, bully champions, pacing champions. You start learning how to win lanes hard. Notice that I'm always recommending a very low amount of champions. We do not play a lot of champions in League of Legends when we're trying to climb. You need to be amazing at some things rather than marginal and forgettable at a bunch of things. So again, pick a couple, just like a couple, 1 or 2. Focus to improve relying on that teleport. Stop relying on it, basically. Learn to play top lane without it. Push in the side lanes. Obviously, we've talked about staying in those side lanes and not grouping, but start looking at pressuring dives more. Hit the tower a couple times. I talked about fight, float, and flank. Actually step up there, smack a tower, pull off, try to manipulate that pressure, try to figure out who you can dive. Once you start getting big, start seeing targets that's like, okay, this guy's by himself, I'm going for a dive right away, no hesitation. And the other thing is, suiciding for plates and towers is like a huge issue for the lower elo guys. They think it's okay to dive for towers. I see this all the time. They'll get like 3 kills. I'll smurf, get beat by a guy in gold. Like, it happens. Like, I'll try to do a 2v1, lose. They'll push into me with like their 3 kills, and then they'll just like suicide because they think that's worth, dying for an objective. Stop doing that. Stop thinking that's the move. It's a Riot game design mechanic for the purposes of just throwing gold back and forth like a ping pong so that the game feels closer than it really should be if you knew what you were doing. All right? Dope. Let's go to Platinum. Yes. Platinum in the top lane. So once you get to Platinum, you're going to start to see that ego might be a problem for a lot of players. The mechanics are actually pretty solid, but unfortunately, because they realize that their mechanics are solid, they start thinking that they actually get the game. But a lot of mechanics in this game are just muscle memory. Macro, though, comes from study and thinking about yourself, self-reflecting on your mistakes. And this is where you'll find a lot of players start to struggle with this concept a lot more than other ELOs. They start winning the lanes, but they seem to be unable to put a game away. And a lot of that is because, again, they don't understand that there's more to the game than just beating their lane. They have to know how to shut down fed carries. They have to know how to dive the right people, make the right rotations. Those concepts are opening up now. And for a lot of people, the really clear, obvious moves, they're just ignoring those, again, because they think that they're playing a lot better than they are, just based on their micro, right? And mid to late game, the plays that lose the game. So you'll have some guy who got super fed, super big, and then he'll just kind of tilt out because he just doesn't know what to do, and he gets decision paralysis, and the top laner decides he's just going to do a flank by himself or something, right? And that can lose the game outright. Now I'm opening up the champion pool to like 3 champions. I've added in Camille and Darius, Aurelia I think as well. These are all champions. If you notice, I'm staying away from ranged tops. I think it's very important to learn how to climb without ranged tops, and also I think ranged tops set some bad habits, and you really should just be learning this role and climbing from this role with these types of champions, because quite frankly, I think they just do the job better, and they won't put you in a situation like ranged tops will often put you in a situation where, because they're range, you kind of get into some bad habits on just like, oh, I think I can bully everybody, and then after you don't really bully them hard enough because you don't really understand how to bully, and then in the side lanes you don't really have the type of pressure that you really need to have because you're not there yet in terms of crushing lanes, and you need to learn how to crush with melee first. So what are we improving as a platinum player? Drop ego. Learn to stifle your ego. Trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. I've smurfed for a long time, played high elo and played through platinum and diamond a lot. Mechanics start to mean less. It's not your mechanics that are going to be holding you back a lot of the time. Now start fighting your kryptonite in lanes. What are your leaks? What lanes are just owning you still? Figure it out. Like, are you still struggling with some advanced situations? Like maybe Teemo is still your nemesis. Really look into those matchups. Study matchups that give you a hard time. Review pivotal deaths. Start reviewing those deaths and replays. We have replays now, so use them. And then improve the weak side awareness. And what weak side is essentially when your jungler is on the other side of the map. Stop taking crazy trades when your jungle's on the other side of the map. Instead, instead think about, okay, my jungler is bottom, so I should just really be slowing it down right here. Start thinking about those concepts because you need to start getting better at them if you're hoping to get into diamond and above. All right, now riff usage. I wanted to post this up here because now you should start winning your lanes more often. If you can win the lanes early, try to get a hold of that rift after you've won the lane and use it before 14 minutes in another lane for another round of plates. These are advanced snowball things that a lot of people don't realize. But if you can crush a lane with something like a Tryndamere or a Jax or something that's a little bit more pace heavy that I've put on this list, and you can get a hold of that rift early, you can really blow a game open in ways that most people don't realize that you can. All right? All right, so diamond for a lot of people is pretty much the goalpost. A lot of people just want to make diamond and be done with it. Obviously, for this video, I have a passion for advanced educational content, so I figured I'd go ahead and make an explanation on how to escape diamond in some of the higher ELOs. And I'll be real with you, diamond's probably the hardest hurdle to beat. There's a lot of things that you have to be doing well, and a lot of more way advanced stuff that you have to start implementing in order to have a substantial edge over diamond players, especially considering I've made previous videos about this. Season 9, the current season, a lot of people aren't trying as hard as they used to, so you really got to go above and beyond the standard to escape diamond. All right, so here's some errors that a lot of diamond players are making. Ego is now at an all-time high. There's so many people in your games, and then likely people watching this video that have this problem. They think that they're better than they are. You're really not that great at this game. You've probably mastered the mechanics to a certain extent. Macro, you probably got a decent handle on it, but it's just your consistency. You can know what to do macro-wise. You can have a general understanding. But how crisp is the decision making? How fluid is it? How accurate are you with your choices? This is stuff that diamond players struggle with. Min-maxing issues. Okay, you win a lane, but then I watch replays of people winning lanes and they don't win them hard enough. They don't strangle every ounce of gold out of their opponent. And these are things that you have to do at this level. Rune creativity. Say we're playing Tryndamere into a tank matchup, right? And you decide that you know what, I'm going to go fleet footwork instead of lethal tempo. This is just one example. Another example is now that we've got ranged champions in the mix, we've got GP, Kennen, Vlad in the champion pool. Klepto, you'll face matchups now where you can take Klepto. Is it more optimal to do that? Is it the better move to do that? Is it the better move to play to rune defensively for certain matchups? Am I going to get dove? Should I rune for that? That's what I mean by rune creativity or min-maxing issues. Bad rotations and splitting at the wrong time. So essentially a lot of the bigger errors at this ELO boil down to, okay, I get a lead or maybe the game's even and then the top laner just kind of gets caught at a weird interval. That makes no sense. These mistakes actually hurt more at this level where the smaller little errors tend to have bigger consequences than normally, because people will get leads and actually put games away quickly. Resources, I wanted to highlight resources. Search your teams and champ select. This is advanced stuff. Learn how to dodge bad teams. Hopefully I'll do a dodge guide. I was supposed to, and then I moved to Facebook and never got around to it. Hopefully I'll do one for YouTube soon. But yeah, you need to learn how to find which teammates are auto-filled, which teammates are having like 8 losses in a row and they're basically feeding every game. They're on tilt to dodge bad teams. It's crazy, but this is the stuff you got to start doing. So focus on improving mental fortitude, as this is absolutely the hardest hurdle to beat. Beating diamond by yourself the first time is probably one of the toughest things in League of Legends, hands down, even in previous seasons. Using external resources, that's important. Using, op.gg, searching your team, and then obviously just study and take breaks instead of just spamming out games. Think about it. If someone like myself, some old fart like myself, can make Masters Plus with different roles, it's not about spamming a bunch of games. It's more about studying and figuring out, like, why am I losing? Watch better players and keep going back to the drawing board and reevaluate your strategy. Are you really using the best strategy for a champion? The amount of times I see some guy, and I keep using Tryndamere as an example, but like there's a guy that does Tryndamere with like Klepto for some reason. He always peaks around like mid diamond, and it's like, dude, just play Tryndamere right, and then you wouldn't stop in mid diamond. Now, obviously, if you're having fun, that's one thing. But if your goal is to climb, it's a reason that people aren't doing what you're doing. If it's not working anymore, you need to use other people's advice. Late game decisions and major objective trading. This is important because for a lot of people, they don't understand when they're split pushing, backing for a lost objective is still a problem for diamond players. So team gets wiped as you're split pushing. You go, shit, I got a base. When there's a tower open and available, you think basing and defending an inhib that's already going to fall, it has a purpose, but it doesn't. if an objective's already going to fall, it does you no good to stand there and watch it fall in the base. And this is the concept that I see diamond players in the top lane really fucking struggle with. All right, so there's the big ones. Now we move into the final couple ELOs and where things get a little crazy. Let's face it, if you're watching at this point in the video, I'm gonna be real with you, you probably aren't here, and you're probably not gonna be here. It's pretty tough to get here, and it's also pretty tough to go any higher. So yeah, for the people that are actually chilling around Masters MMR, getting close, this is for you. And for people that are just curious, you know. Top lane major errors in Master that I've noticed, not dodging enough. Right? I know. It's crazy. Not dodging terrible games and matchups enough. Not babying your leads well enough. You are now one of the absolute top players in League of Legends solo queue. When you get a lead, really hold on to it. Because if you're getting a lead versus these particular players, it's normally coming not necessarily because your opponent's bad. Someone made a mistake. Someone is autofilled. That's probably why you've got the big lead that you got, or the jungle helped you out a bunch. It's very rarely because of you just having such a massive edge over your opponents. I mean, it does happen enough, but you got to take care of your leads. Lack of imagination late game. I know that sounds nebulous and weird, but hear me out. For a lot of players, the advanced things like setting up in the enemy jungle later in the game, trying to find somebody rotating, fighting for vision in strange situations, ultra late, mid late as well. Trying to find opportunities to engage, to flank, to do things like that. You need to come up with those types of advanced plays that really set you apart from the rest of the player base. Like, yeah, you've got great mechanics. You probably got decent macro, but are you making those big flanks that win the game? Are you making those big picks that win games? That's going to be the thing that pushes you over everybody else. We're opening up the champion pool because you obviously know by now that you can't play every single champion. Some people still are making this mistake though, even at this level. You're leaning, I'm dropping a lot of the champions that are weaker. The Garens, the Nasus, the Yorick. I'm dropping those champions in favor of champions that have more individual carry potential and aren't quite so one-dimensional, exploitable from better players. All right, and now for you, focus on that consistency, man. That's really all there is to it at this point. You need to play a lot. You need to study a lot. The small things matter. So don't be afraid of, like, again, dodging often. You know, don't talk yourself into taking a match that you don't like. Don't talk yourself into facing a lane that you hate, that you lose to every fucking time. That's something that you have to learn. It's all about fighting your own ego and accepting that some people are just better suited to win a game, or your team's just not good. Don't say like it's an anime. You're not going to win every game. You already know that by now if you're here. And then lastly, isolate. Find those bad tilted opponents. Focus them. Knock them out of the game, right? And if you're facing a laner who's good, respect him. Just don't feed him. Take the coin flip. The amount of times that I've been, like in previous seasons where I've been I remember I faced Dyrus, and like Dyrus beat me every time, and I kept trying to beat him. And then after a couple times, I just stopped trying to beat him, and literally just when I faced him, or I faced a matchup that I didn't like, not in the case of Dyrus, but like I faced certain people, I would just go, man, this guy's probably better than me. And I would just chill, and I would focus more on just being a solid farmer, a solid brick in a lane, and wouldn't you know it, I would start winning more games versus better players, because it's like, oh, they're just as good as I am, or better. Let's just not make a big mistake. And that's what you need to learn at high elo. All right, if you're here, I know that you're a legit Grandmaster player. And I'm going to give you legit get to challenger advice on YouTube, because surely YouTube viewers are often Grandmaster players and they need to know how to get to challenger. So I've devised this totally serious explanation on how to get to challenger. First things first, you need to learn how to carry Season 8 Diamond players harder, all right, or previous Season Diamond players harder, because you're probably not doing it hard enough. I know you think you're high elo and you deserve better quality games, but guess what? You're going to be waiting in a 30-minute fucking queue, and you're going to get a bunch of diamond autofills, and if you don't carry them, you're not actually a Grandmaster player. You're not ever going to be challenger. Forgetting to PayPal your win traders is another problem. All right, that's an issue. You need to clean that up. You need to call up whoever it is. You know, you need to call up the homies. You need to call up those jungle mains on their 80 accounts, and you need to hook that up, all right? And you need to dodge the Kennen matchup as a top laner. You know better. You know that Kennen and Gnar are bullshit champions. You see it every time. You know they're going to go klepto. You know they're unkillable. Why do you even bother? All right, why do you even bother playing these fucking matchups? They're for subhumans. No one that's ever played Kennen and Gnar at a high elo level, they're not serial killers anyways. So you know that they exist to take your elo, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you need to just dodge dodge that matchup. Recommended champion pool, obviously Kennen and Gnar, they're bullshit. Tryndamere, Jax, Aurelia, Darius, Renekton. You take those champions. You can play Riven, but only if you're like one of 3 people, because the rest of you guys can't play Riven at all. Focus to improve as a Grandmaster player. Listen, you need to dodge even if you've waited 20 to 40 minutes to get into a bad lobby. All right? Don't you flame any motherfucker, because if you flame them, Riot's going to give you lifelong duo membership. You're going to be their best friend forever. They're going to be at every match you ever play with them after you flame them. And don't forget to load Minecraft while you wait for a game, because they just did that update and you're going to be spending a long time in Minecraft trying to play fucking high elo games. All right? Now, guess what? After all that, you're a challenger. Now, listen, I know that last slide was kind of trolly. It was more for my high elo peeps that happen to be viewing the video, or anybody that watches high elo streams. Listen, man, I really do hope the majority of the stuff helped you, though. If you like this presentation, you want to see more like it, tell me what role you want to see, and we'll make more videos covering each role. I'm going to be paying attention. Whichever role gets the most love in the comments, probably the one that I'm doing next. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please check out my socials, man. Please sub. I've spent a lot of time working on this. I'll leave some links in the description if you want to do some more crazy levels of support. I appreciate you if you've just watched. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think. I love you. Have a wonderful day, and good luck climbing in top lane, all right? Hopefully my stuff helps you. I put a lot of time into it. I really think it'll give you some sort of direction if you're struggling. All right? Love you guys. I'm out. Peace.